Rain fell, but the real storm wasn't from the sky. It lived in Kennechukwueze's chest. Welcome to Niger Prince Folktales. Subscribe for fresh content, and let's explore the richness of tales. Join our community of like-minded story lovers. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment for new stories every week. Thanks. Let's know where you are watching from in the comments section. Kennechukwueze, Nigeria's youngest tech billionaire, sat quietly in his Banana Island mansion, looking like a mannequin in a designer store. 3 breakup texts stared at him on his iPhone like insults. Kenny, I can't be with a man who lets his chef cook a goosey without stockfish. You're too busy. I need a man who'll take me to Santorini, not seminars. It's not you, babe. I just think our goals don't align. Also, my ex just bought me a Benz. He laughed, not out of joy, but that kind of laughter that tastes like pepper. He stood up, removed his shirt, faced a giant mirror, and whispered, "So nobody sees a man? Just the money." That night, Kenny packed a bag, told his driver to drop him in Ajigunle, and disappeared. Kenny rented a face suit. No generator. 1 fan. Mosquitoes sang lullabies at night. He bought a vulcanizer kit from a roadside market, paid Baba Basiru to let him sit up beside him, and started patching tires. But Lagos girls? Lagos girls don't rate tire boys. One day, a fine babe in a short skirt with long lashes and hot attitude strolled past. Kenny, drenched in sweat, accidentally splashed a tiny bit of dirty water on her heels as he rolled a tire across the road. She turned like lioness. "You day mad. Tire man, are you blind?" "Sorry," Kenny said calmly. "Let me clean it." Before he could bend, she screamed, "If you touch me and I don't want your grease on my body. Poverty will not stain me today. God forbid." Everyone looked. Street boys laughed. Baba Basiru shook his head. The girl walked away, adjusting her wig and muttering, "Useless poor men." Second week, he asked the girl out. Kenny had helped her fix her father's car tire for free. She came the next day to say thanks, wearing pink joggers and fake Dior slippers. "You're very nice," she said, smiling. Kenny smiled back. "Maybe I can take you out this weekend? Just suya and Fanta." She laughed, loud, hard. "Wait, you, tire man, want to date me? Me? You want to carry me to where? Your zinc roof or your kiosk?" Then she spat on the ground and hissed, "Next time, patch your tire, not your class." That one cut deep. He almost gave up that night. As he bathed with bucket water and looked at his bruised palms, he sat outside and stared at the sky. God, is this how normal people live? He thought about his mansion, his jacuzzi, his chef, his 200K perfume. And here he was, smelling like diesel and dust. Then came the final straw. He had just finished working on a Kiki tire when a group of 3 university girls walked past, laughing and chewing gum. They saw him. The prettiest one whispered, "Isn't it the guy that used a trend online with Mercedes G-Wagon?" "No, Jor," her friend replied. "That one had clean skin. This one looks like burnt plantain." Another added, "Even if Naim, this one dawn fall from grace to gutter. Now grease be this or struggle." They laughed loudly and walked away like queens. Kenny stared at the tire in front of him. He clenched his fist, but then Baba Basiru patted him. "My boy," the old man said, "don't let pride block your blessing." Even Jesus was insulted. Kenny nodded and got back to work, because even when the whole world laughed, he was looking for just one woman, the one who wouldn't. And then came Amarachi. No makeup, no lashes, no noise, just peace. But let's not rush, because even peace has a past. The sun rose like it didn't know people were suffering. Children screamed in the background. A Moin Moin seller shouted, "Hot! Hot!" in front of the compound. Car horns fought for space in the chaos of Ajigunle. Kenny had just patched 3 tires before 9 a.m. and was sipping lukewarm sachet water when she passed again, Amarachi, that same girl from last week. She wore a faded anchor gown and carried a blue tote bag filled with books. Her braids were scattered, her slippers were tired, but her smile, Her smile could silence thunder. This time, she greeted Baba Basuru. "Good morning, Baba. Hope you slept well." Then she looked at Kenny and nodded politely. "Good morning, sir." Sir. No girl had called him that since he wore grease. Kenny was stunned. Not tire man. Not see as you black. Just, sir. Later that day, Fade had fun again. A school bell rang. Kids ran wild across the street. Amarachi came chasing after one small boy who tried to escape school with a puff-puff in hand. "Chisholm, come back here. I will flog you today." In the chase, her Okada hit a pothole. Boom! Back tire burst, right in front of Kenny's workshop. She tumbled, landed sideways, dust all over her dress. The Okada man fled instantly. Kenny ran. "Oh my God! Are you okay?" Amarachi coughed, laughed, then winced in pain. "I'm okay. Just embarrassed." Kenny helped her up and dusted her gently. He looked at the tire and said, "That's not a patch. That one not deliverance." Amarachi laughed. "You're funny." He grinned. "I'm also affordable." They both laughed. She asked, "How much to fix it?" He winked. "First patch is free. Teacher's discount." She looked at him sideways. N. So vulcanizers now have teacher promo. He smiled. "Only for the kind ones." Every morning, Amarachi would pass a shop. Some days, Kenny would offer her a chilled sachet water. Other times, she'd drop a donut and say, "Just in case you haven't eaten." He was shocked. Nobody had offered him anything in weeks. She wasn't rich, but she gave. Kenny began to observe. She would walk home with her head down. Her shoes had seen war. Her phone screen was cracked like dried pomo. Her skirt was always the same. But still, she taught kids with all her heart. One day, Kenny followed her quietly after school. She entered a small compound. Inside, an old woman sat peeling melon on the floor. "Mama, we sold 4 exercise books today," Amarachi said, kneeling. The woman smiled. "At least that's something." Kenny understood they were struggling. No man in sight. No support. No fancy lifestyle. Just quiet survival. One evening, Amarachi stopped by to chat. Kenny was sitting on a tire, his hands black with grease. "You don't talk much," she said. "I used to," he replied, before people stopped listening. She tilted her head. "But I'm listening." That sentence did something to him. Something he didn't expect. He asked, "Why are you always smiling?" She shrugged. "Because if I cry, it won't fix anything. So I choose joy even if it's borrowed." Kenny looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, he felt peace. Not the peace that comes from silence, but the peace that comes from being seen. One afternoon, while Amarachi was at the shop helping him cut patches for fun, a sleek Benz drove by and reversed. It was Sandra, Kenny's ex. Her lashes were like wings, her nails like daggers. She rolled down the window. "Kenechukwu." Kenny froze. Amarachi looked confused. "Your name is Kenechukwu." Sandra looked Amarachi up and down, scoffed, and laughed like sin. "You now fix tires? Wow. I thought you said you wanted a humble life, not a homeless one." Then she sped off. Amarachi didn't say anything, but she noticed the way Kenny clenched his jaw. Adjugunal son, no day play. By 10 a.m., Kenny was sweating like a goat at a naming ceremony. But even the heat couldn't compete with what he felt whenever Amarachi passed by and met her faded skirt and stubborn smile. Feelings had entered. It started small, a missed heartbeat when she waved. Then came the stuttering when she sat beside him. Then one day, she brought him lunch, white rice and fish stew in cooler. "Hope you eat pepper?" she asked. Kenny smiled. "I eat anything made by good hands." She blushed. "A bag, eat Jor before it gets cold." That was the day Kenny knew. He was in trouble. The friendship deepened fast. They would sit together after school hours, sharing gala and soft drinks. She told him about her dreams. Opening a real school, taking her mama to Dubai, buying new shoes without checking price tags. He told her little things, how he once had a dog named Zeus, how he liked quiet, how he hated people who mocked the poor. She laughed often. He laughed more than he had in years. But every time she asked, "So, what's your full name, Kenny?" he would dodge it like Nipa dodging light. One Friday, trouble wore heels and body spray. Her name was Vanessa, an Instagram baddie who once fought to date Kenny when he was still flexing his billions. She had heard from Sandra that Kenechukwu the billionaire was living like a common man in Ajigunal. So she came on a mission. She parked her Lexus across the road and stepped out in ripped jeans and red lipstick. Boys started whistling. She walked straight to Kenny's tire stand. "Baby," she smiled. "So this is where you've been hiding." Kenny looked up and froze. Vanessa sat on one of the tires, crossed her legs like a snake, and said, "I miss you. You know poverty makes your skin glow differently. Very rugged." Amarachi, who was just returning from school with a bag of exercise books, saw them talking. She slowed down. Vanessa looked up, noticed her, and smirked. "Is that your colleague or your new charity project?" Kenny stood up, angry. "Vanessa, leave." She laughed. "Kenny, be serious. You'll date this chalk and blackboard girl over me? You left private jets for patch love." Amarachi stood still. She looked from Vanessa to Kenny. "Charity project?" she asked quietly. Kenny stammered. "Amara, she's not. Look, it's not what you think." But it already was. Amarachi turned and walked away. Later that evening, Kenny went to her house. Her mother was outside, peeling yam. Kenny greeted. "Is Amarachi home?" The old woman eyed him. "She says she no one talk." "Please tell her I came." She sighed. "Young man, I like you, but no use your hands rub sand for our peace." Amarachi no fit handle heartbreak again. Kenny nodded and walked away, his chest heavy. He had come to Ajigunal to escape lies, but now he was swimming in one. The next morning, while fixing a Danfo tire, one small street boy named Smart took a selfie with Kenny and posted, "This tire man looked like that billionaire tech guy. Oh, Abina lookalike?" Hashtag tire billionaire. The post caught fire online. People started reposting. Before evening, bloggers were calling, "Shocking, did Nigeria's youngest billionaire disappear to become a vulcanizer?" Some said it was fake. Others said it was spiritual punishment. Some even said it was content creation for a movie. But Amarachi? She was silent. Until one student brought a phone to school and said, "Auntie Amarachi, is this not your tire friend?" And there it was, Kenny in full grease, smiling next to Smart. Amarachi storms to the tire shop after school. Kenny sees her, smiles. She doesn't smile back. "Kenechukwu ease," she says, loud and clear. Kenny freezes. "You're a billionaire. You've been lying. You let me cry about rent when you could have helped. You listened to all my dreams and pretended you were one of us." He opens his mouth, but no words come out. "I didn't fall for a rich man. I fell for a real one. But now I don't know who you are." She walks away, and for the first time in a long time, Kenny cried. Silence. That was all Kenny heard after Amarachi left his workshop. Not the usual street noise. Not the Danfo horn. Not Baba Basiru's loud burp. Just silence. Because when someone who sees you for who you are turns away, it's not sound that breaks, it's your soul. By Monday morning, Kenny's face was everywhere. Exposed. Billionaire found fixing tires in Ajigunal. Rich man or madman. Why tech giant vanished for 3 months? See, the school teacher who stole his heart. Our source says she rejected him. It was like reality TV without consent. Bloggers camped outside Amarachi school. One even shouted through the fence, "Madam, how does it feel to break a billionaire's heart?" Children started mocking her. "Auntie, marry him now, so we can get AC inside class." The school management called her in. "We know you're innocent, but please stay off for 1 week until this media thing dies down." That evening, Kenny put on a clean shirt, cleaned his fingers, wore slippers, and carried a file. Destination, Amarachi's house. The moment her mother opened a gate and saw him, she raised her voice. "Go back. You've done enough. I just want to talk." You should have talked when she trusted you. I wasn't trying to lie. You were lying the moment you started hiding who you were. How do you expect love to grow on secrets? Kenny dropped the file on the ground. If she ever wants to see me again, this is for her. He turned and left. The old woman picked up the file and her eyes widened. Inside was a letter, a signed check, a vocational school proposal, all in Amarachi's name. In her small room, Amarachi sat by her tiny window, knees pulled her chest, eyes red from crying. "Mama, why didn't you just tell me?" she asked quietly. Her mother said nothing, just placed a file in front of her. She opened it. Her hand shook. It was a full plan for a free teacher training center, to be built in her name, with land already paid for, and a letter from Kenny. "I came to Adjagunal to run from love, but I found it standing beside a broken tire with a smile. You showed me how to love without being afraid. If this is the price for lying, then let me pay it. But I'll never stop loving you." She burst into tears. Meanwhile, Kenny finally responded to press. In a viral video, he stood outside his workshop in grease-stained jeans and said, "I disappeared not because I was crazy, but because I was tired of people loving me with calculator minds. I didn't want to be a money bag. I wanted to be a man. I didn't lose my mind. I just finally used it." He paused, looked at the camera. "And to Amarachi, wherever you are, if you can forgive me, I'll wait. Not as a billionaire, not as a tire man, but as a man who knows your love is richer than gold." The next day, Amarachi stepped into his workshop unannounced. He was under a car, struggling with a rusted bolt. She stood beside him. "Kenny." He slid out from under, shocked, grease on his face, heart in his mouth. She knelt down beside him. "I didn't fall in love with a man on the blog. I fell in love with the man who patched my tire with one hand and held my fear with the other." Tears rolled down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She smiled through tears. "Then prove it." "How?" "Let's build that school. Not in my name. In ours." They hugged. Tight. Grease, sweat, love. Everything mixed. That day, Adjagunal witnessed something rare. A billionaire covered in oil, holding the woman who saw through everything. News broke like fire in dry Harmattan. The billionaire tire man proposes to his schoolteacher. From Adjagunal forever. Kenny and Amarachi set to open free vocational school. Tires, tears, and true love. But inside Adjagunal, the real excitement wasn't the headlines. It was the buzz in the air. Because something magical was happening. Kenny didn't kneel with gold-plated roses or a private jet banner. He kept it simple. One morning, he invited Amarachi to the old tire stand, now cleaner, polished, and decorated with white balloons. She arrived confused. "Kenny, why is everywhere looking like wedding ground?" He smiled and pointed. A group of kids from her school stood holding cardboard signs. "Will you marry our Uncle Kenny? Say yes, so we can all go to Dubai. Uncle Kenny promised us AC in class." The last one made her burst out laughing. And there he was, standing in the middle, holding a simple ring. "Amarachi," he said, voice shaking. "You've seen me at my lowest. You fed me when I could have fed 100. You loved me without knowing what I had. Please, help me build a life that's based on truth." She didn't speak. She just jumped into his arms. The whole street screamed. Mama Basiru danced. Street boys popped bottles of Coke. Even Smart, the boy who leaked his identity, cried happy tears. 2 months later, just beside the old tire stand, the ribbon was cut. Tires and Trude's Vocational Academy, offering free training in vulcanizing, welding, carpentry, tailoring, and teaching. Kenny didn't wear a suit. He wore ankara and slippers. Amarachi wore her teacher's skirt with pride. Reporters asked her, "Why build a school instead of moving to the island?" She replied, "Because not everyone can marry a billionaire, but everyone deserves a chance." The crowd clapped like thunder. They didn't do it at a 5-star hotel. They did it on the street where their story began. Roads were blocked. Danfos decorated. Baba Fryo performed live. Kenny wore white agbada, but still had oil stains on his fingers. Amarachi wore a dress sewn by her students. Even the governor came late. and still clapped the loudest. Mama Amarachi cried through the entire vows. When the priest asked, "Do you take her?" Kenny looked at Amarachi and said, "I've taken her since the day she smiled at me beside a busted tire." A year later, Kenny sits outside the academy, holding a cold Zobo, watching boys fix tires with precision and pride. Amarachi walks by, carrying a toddler on her back, their first child, Chitara. A student runs to Kenny. "Sir, there's a girl outside asking to patch her tire. Says she doesn't have money." Kenny stands. "Then tell her to come." That's how all good stories start. And he smiles, because now he knows true wealth is not in what you own. It's in who stands beside you when you have nothing. Thanks for watching.